Broadcasting from the Blanchardstown Centre, this is Phoenix FM.
This is 92.5 Phoenix FM, community radio for Dublin 15.
Hey everybody, it's JB Jeremy Borash, and you are listening to Darrow O'Connor on the... Bound for Glory 2020 from Impact Wrestling, and then we're going to be taking the rewind, as they call it, back to Unforgiven 1999 and explore the amazing, terrible, you'll find out, Kennel from Hell match. So how are you doing this week, Dara?
I'm doing good, Dave. I'm doing good. Finally getting over some of the technical issues that we've been having and them plaguing me. Thanks to my little pup, she nearly destroyed my computer, but it's okay.
Puppies.
Yeah, well, not in the Jerry King Lawler sense of the word. But yeah, so we got like a bunch of stuff to do this week. A twofer, of course. In my opinion, actually, probably the best pay-per-view of the year from Impact Wrestling. And then an interesting pay-per-view from 1999. So yeah, we got a bunch to talk about, guys. If you're in the chat again, please do. Leave your comments and let us know what you think. We're going to run for about an hour. So again, thanks to Jay and True Penny on the True Penny channel for having us on. We have been taking a bit of an unscheduled break from there, obviously, because my technical issues have, not allowed me to.
We each both happen to have October birthdays, so that got in the mix.
Absolutely, as well. So, but we're all back on track now. Obviously, we're looking like we're going to be doing this every Friday night anyway, because it just seems to make more sense. And yeah, again, like we're as far as the WWE side of things, we're going pretty much all the way up. So our next pay-per-view is going to be Survivor Series 1999. And yeah, speaking of which, Dave, before we get into the Bound for Glory show, you were wrong, sir.
I was wrong?
Yeah. So you said we're never going to see The Undertaker again.
Wait, what? Okay,
yeah.
This is time to play David Doesn't Follow the News.
David doesn't follow the news, no.
No. In case you guys, in Ireland, you're not aware. Well, I mean, you are aware. Who isn't in the world? But things have been a bit crazy over here in my country. So what's going on, Dara? Give me. We'll play the game. Let's play the game.
Okay, we'll play the game. So which of the three is real and which isn't? So The Undertaker is coming back to wrestle for the WWE title against The Fiend at Survivor Series.
No way.
The Undertaker is coming back to officially retire at Survivor Series. Or The Undertaker is teaming with Kane against an unspecified opponent at Survivor Series.
Okay, coming back for a retirement at Survivor Series doesn't make sense to me because there's no crowd, even though it is his debut was at Survivor Series originally, if I remember.
20 years
because
ago,
originally
correct.
he thought that he was going to be the gobbledygooker. It was the whole thing.
Yeah.
But so it would make sense. Ooh, that could be true. Is this one of those trick ones where it's 2 out of 3?
Make your guess. You'll find out.
Oh my gosh. Oh, please tell me he's not wrestling. No, he already wrestled Wyatt, so it can't be that. Is he? Oh my God, he's wrestling. He's teaming with Kane.
No, he's having his farewell event at Survivor Series. Apparently, that's how they're booking it this year.
But there's no crowd.
I know, that's what I thought, but that's the news. That like this whole pay-per-view is going to be built around him, apparently. The stunned silence from Dave, ladies and gentlemen.
Okay, the only thing I watched, I don't know if anybody's aware of this, but there's actually shows on the WWE Network, and I watched After the Bell this past week that Corey Graves hosts, and AJ Styles was on it, which is why I watched After the Bell this week. And
I'm shocked.
Make mention, yeah, right, shock, pure shock. He did make mention of the fact that he still wants to have a live match with The Undertaker at a WrestleMania, that it's still planned out in his head. He wants to do it with 80,000 people cheering and going crazy. So AJ wants to do it.
Yeah, as I said, look, I don't think the Undertaker's finished at wrestling. It's just not going to happen until he's dead, until he's actually a dead man. I just don't see it. I think, they'll build around it all right. They'll probably do a thing. It'll be a big celebration for the 20 years. It makes sense. They have literally nothing else.
30 years, you mean?
Is it 30 years? Okay, yeah. Oh, it is 30 years, yeah. 30
25.
years. No, wait, 1990. No, it's like 30 years. Yeah, it is 30 years.
Was it 1990 that he debuted? Or was it 1994?
Yeah. No, 1990. He was like world champion by 94.
Yeah. The Purple Glove phase.
Yes, correct. But yeah, look, it is what it is. As I said, current WWE is such a slog. So, I think that makes it easier.
Hey, did you watch Hell in a Cell this week?
Yeah, no, it was this week? No, it was last week.
I don't know. I didn't watch it either, though.
Yeah, it was terrible. Don't watch it. But what wasn't terrible, ladies and gentlemen, honestly, right now, I will be fully transparent. I don't know what I was expecting watching the show, but I was blown away. It was like Bound for Glory 2020 is, and Impact Wrestling in general. Impact Wrestling is probably the best wrestling show you can watch on TV. And I'll tell you why. Let me have a bit of a rant, Dave. The reason why is it finally knows what it is. It's like established itself as being a really, really comfortable, like, number 3. It's not trying to be AEW. It's not trying to be WWE. It's trying to be itself, and it is succeeding. Everything was paced super well. The show was super entertaining. There was one really bad spot on it. I would have to be fair. We'll call that out. But I loved it. I thought it was fantastic. And then when I watched Unforgiven, I was like, oh, this is why. Because it's a structured program that makes sense, that is engaging, and actually has something to offer. Impact Wrestling has more to offer than any of the other companies. Honestly, because I didn't hate it. I genuinely sat there and I was like, this is an entertaining show. Now, there were elements that could have been better, but all the elements that could have been better were completely overshadowed by the great moments of it. And Emma was there, and I popped like you wouldn't believe. And yeah, man, I loved it. I thought it was great. Honestly, there's very little on the show that I could say was bad. Actually, there is only one thing on the show that was bad, and that, it was what it was. But Rhino won, and I love Rhino. I thought the whole Collier shots gauntlet was great.
It was interesting. That was an interesting victory for me. I expected them to give it somebody younger. I was expecting Sammy to get it, but
no. Well, it made sense because of the story, and this is what I mean.
Right.
The booking in this told a story, and it was a story that you could get behind. And even though there was nobody in the crowd, it felt more real and more alive than watching anything from the Thunderdome.
That's really true, because Thunderdome's gotten to a point where I feel like I'm watching a video game.
That's what it feels like. It feels like, and I think because the crowd noises is actually from the 2K game.
Video game. Yeah. But just even the panels, the way that they're animated reminds me of the way that they're animated in the video game. And this to me now, granted, if I had just seen this match and this was the first lockdown match I've ever seen, then I would have been like, this is super weird. But I'm so used to no crowds now.
Yeah.
I was like, it took me 3 matches before I realized there wasn't a crowd there.
Yeah, same.
And they weren't pumping in volume or anything like that.
Whatever way they did it, whatever way they have it set up, I do have to give them credit, because they actually set it up better, no crowd, than WWE did. WWE always felt like a weird stage play. This just feels like wrestling.
Yeah.
And it's just really, really decent like that. Like, let's start with the opener.
Let's do it.
The 6-way intergender scramble match. 1, I love scramble matches. 2, intergender match, which was very strange. I like it too. I've never seen an intergender scramble match
a couple times, right? This has been a topic of discussion. Can you still do intergender matches?
Yeah, if you do them like this,
nowadays.
You can.
Yeah, if you do it like this, you absolutely can.
Yeah, and remember, it's the X Division, so there's no limits, right? Willie Mack, friend of the show, was on it. I love TJ Perkins. I was like, oh man, cool. Suicide is back. Awesome, it was good. The whole match was about a good 13 minutes. I love the way they've brought back this, introducing the X Division as like the hype opener. I think it's the best way to open a show, because it really gets, it really gets people into it. And even though there's no crowd, that still kind of carries through, because you're like, right, this is a great little baseline. And everyone in there was great. I love the fact that the Rohit was such a heel. You know, he really is like this ultimate heel. And I thought the commentators, I had a weird relationship with the commentary team.
It was interesting. Don Callis and Josh I love Josh Matthews. I'm a big fan.
Me too. I'm a big fan too. And I like, I think Don Callis is a really cool addition to that as well. At certain points, I thought they were taking the piss out of Vince McMahon with the way they were, the way they were pushing the heel kind of thing. But they had really good chemistry. So at certain points, it was better than others. But I think, compared it to WWE, which I don't want to do that much. That's not what we're doing here. But it was not annoying. It didn't take me out of the show. It was really cool to just kind of sit back and just watch a current wrestling product where it's wrestling and they're just doing their own thing and it's working.
Right. And they were telling the stories throughout the night. And it reminded me kind of the Lucha Underground. I was always a big fan of the Matt Striker and Vampiro commentary.
Well, Matt Striker was on the show as well. Apparently earlier on in the night, he does the pre-shows.
Right.
So,
but I really like that commentary. And there was during WrestleMania weekend, maybe 2 years ago, Josh Matthews and Matt Striker called a card together on one of the indie promotions that was live streamed, and I really enjoyed those two together. I
think like the best Impact now, they've picked up kind of where they are. They've picked up that mantle from Ring of Honor and from Chikara and Lucha Underground, and they've taken all those stuff and now plugged it into a really, really solid product that has its own identity, and it's really working for them. Like, I would watch Impact, and look, as a direction this channel is going to be covering Impact pretty heavily, because they've been great to us, and I'll be honest with you, the product is great. It's not it's not a chore to watch.
It's not boring.
WWE's a nightmare
case in
to watch.
point, TJP honestly, putting in that 4-person stranglehold. I love that. I loved it.
I've never seen that before.
I've seen 3 people before, but he took it to the next level with 4, and I was like, this is verging on like breaking kayfabe, but at the same time, I love it because it's new and interesting.
Yeah, but the thing about the X Division, it really can be anything. It can be a cartoon. Right. It can be a car crash. It can be a video
still
game.
Have
it can
innovation.
Be a blood match. Yeah,
that's what I love.
And that, I think, Impact for, when it was TNA or whatever, during the dark times, it kind of forgot what it was. And it was, people were like, oh, we remember it being this thing where it was innovative, completely different and its own thing. And then it kind of went another way. But now it's great that they've circled back and they're like, right, well, what are we? What are we doing? This is it. Like, I would hand, of any wrestling in 2020, I would hand Impact Wrestling to someone and say, here you go. This is what you want. If you guys aren't watching Impact Wrestling, do. AEW is a bit of a hot mess. WWE is going to be WWE. This is a really, really nice alternative. And, the fact that the X Division is kicking ass and really going for it is fantastic.
Until we're back in the time period when we have live crowds and things can return to normal in terms of that, WWE is going to be very predictable. It's going to be the place where the big names stay and they cash their checks and they're happy and they put on suitable matches. AEW is going to be kind of weird, but the needle's not really going to move. Impact is the place where we're going to see people trying new things, trying to innovate because they're trying to get recognized by these other brands as well as establishing themselves as their own company. So I think that this is the most intriguing to watch because we're seeing, half the card, I didn't know who they were, but I was still engaged. And that's what I like.
And I agree. That's exactly the same as me. Like, you can hand this to somebody and go, look, you're going to like this. Oh, who's on it? It doesn't matter. You're going to like it. Compared to...
It's like an old Ring of Honor tape from 2003, 2004. You can just hand this to somebody and say, you'll enjoy this. Who's on it? It doesn't matter. You'll really like this.
Yeah, and that's it. And I think, Impact now has gone back to really kind of being that future producer, that future star maker, which it always was. Look at current WWE. Most of the stars there are former TNA guys, right?
Absolutely.
That's what they are, and that's what they always kind of work the best in it. I think this has more to offer than an AEW show because it's really grating, man. It really is. But with this, throughout the whole time, it just gave us wrestling. and that's all I want. The next match, as an intergender call your shot. Basically, it's a Royal Rumble, right? This was great. It was a really, really fun match. The list of people who showed up, like it was really strange and really weird, but I really liked it. Daivari showing up wearing the same stuff that he did before he left Impact. Obviously, Tommy Dreamer showing up as the Road Warrior.
And Swoggle doing
Swoggle. I was not expecting that.
Doing the Legion of Doom that cracked me up.
But man, it was just great, and the whole story that this build up to, because even on their social media, Heath Slater, and Rhino have been doing the whole thing where it's like, we want a job in Impact, blah blah, and this is building up to it. So there was some investment throughout the whole show, and to be honest with you, I haven't had that watching even a Raw Rumble in a while, because it's like, well, there's not really any stakes here outside the whole you get a title match, right? Well, what's that mean? This, not only do you get a title match, but they added in the whole
choose your title.
Not only, but there's more than that. Like, Rhino's job was on the line. It made him like an ultimate babyface.
Very true.
It told a story with Sammy as well, where he's a piece of what, right? He's like a super bad guy. And that was carried
Sammy's
over.
Great.
Sammy is great. But he was on the show like a fair bit and doing it. And that's what I mean. Like, it's having this interconnectivity where it feels like it's a lived-in universe, and it's much better than this isolated, blocked-out segments that we get elsewhere. AEW kind of does it with the Inner Circle, but even lately they've moved away from it. So it's like, okay, well, we're not getting this anymore. It feels like the Attitude Era in its construction, which is not a bad thing. It's not a knock.
That's funny. I was about to say, it reminded me of late 1990s WWE, where there were storylines that carried throughout the night. Absolutely.
And then when I watched Unforgiven, because I watched Unforgiven right after it, I'm like, oh well, this feels exactly like what they're going for, and I think that's the best way to do it, in my opinion. Obviously, I grew up with it. It's what wrestling is to me. Dave, you're seeing the merits of it, but I think it's the best way to build your stars. As you said, like, I knew the majority of people on this card, but there's lots of people who didn't. And I wasn't bored, because everything mattered. Everything felt like it was important, and everything felt like it's going to build into something else. It's so refreshing to have that now, that this is the gem. I love that Rhino won. It was great. Actually, can I just say one thing as well? When the match kind of turns in, goes from a Raw Rumble to like a straight match, I think that's a really good idea.
I like it too. TNA's always done that to be different than a straight Royal Rumble, but I really like it. Yeah,
I think it makes way more sense than the Royal Rumble. I know some people are going to be like, "Oh my God, how dare you say that?" But
I mean, here's what doesn't happen in this situation. Vince McMahon doesn't have to run out and tear both his quads.
Yeah, true. Like, I think it removes.
You're welcome, people, if you got that reference from like 2004.
2005, 2006.
5 or 6.
But yeah, I'd rather the Rumble did this. I think this is a much better way of constructing the match, because it's like the ending comes more naturally than just, out you go. But then again, there are some moments that wouldn't have happened if, in a good way. But I think this is a really good kind of thing that TNA Impact Wrestling have done now to ensure that when this happens, it's a big deal. And so fair play. It's really good. Major points there. So even in the first 2 matches, it's already better than most things I've seen this year. Moose defeated EC3. Now, this was a weird match because it wasn't really a match. I liked the kind of build up to it in the segments. Moose, it doesn't really do anything for me. I liked his kind of thing with, having the old TNA belt. That was fun. EC3 I do like, but this needed a bit of work from me. It was
this was my dud of the night, personally.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it wasn't what I was expecting. It was too out there. So, look, it is what it is.
Yeah,
it is what it is.
It was bloody. I'll give you that. It was bloody.
I like EC3. Love EC3. I really like that he's back in Impact, and they seem like they know who they have, and they're gonna go with it. But it needs a bit more work. Needs a bit more time in the oven.
I liked Moose originally when the first couple times I saw him. I don't know, maybe he's missing something. I don't know what.
Yeah,
but again, this
think,
was cinematically shot and it was really weird. So
yeah, it was really weird. It gets a pass from me because it was something different. And again, trying to do the cinematic thing, why not? I don't have anything else to say other than that.
Yeah.
Ken Shamrock with Eddie Edwards. This was a great match. This was a
before we even get to the
match.
The Rock was on Impact Wrestling.
Yeah, did you know this? Oh wait, of course you didn't know this. You don't read the news. Yeah, sorry, I forgot. Yeah, so
we have a whole section on our show about this, Tara.
I know. Damn, I actually should have said that last week. Anyway, yeah,
I would never believe that The Rock was on Impact Wrestling. No, never in a day.
So Ken Shamrock went into the Hall of Fame, all right, which is great. You know, I think Ken Shamrock should be in all the Hall of Fames because Ken Shamrock is amazing, and I love you know this. I love Ken Shamrock.
You love him.
Yeah,
and right now we're coincidentally watching the whole Rock Ken Shamrock angle.
Right.
So
it's crazy.
If we hadn't been watching this and doing this on our own, I would have had like no idea. Why would The Rock go out of his way to thank Ken Shamrock? But then in context, it actually made sense. I was like, yeah, Ken Shamrock did a lot for Rocky on his way up.
He literally kind of showed him how to wrestle and how to get, really good. So look, I think it was a cool choice. Cynically, there's reasons, but I don't think, to be honest with you, this was done from a cynical standpoint of view. Like, it makes sense. And anyway, I seen some people say that. I'm like, no, watch WWE from 98, 99 and then come back. And you'll understand
what were the criticisms? I don't understand. It's not like Rock is not being nice to Vince. He bought the XFL from him. He's fine.
It's more just a case of, let's grab a big name. That's where cynically is coming from, and I don't think that's
The Rock isn't a big name. Well, let me.
The Rock's the biggest name.
That's what I'm trying to say. It's not like you're getting, Mankind or Ric Flair or Hulk Hogan. No, you're getting The Rock. You're getting the guy who transcended wrestling and is the highest paid actor in Hollywood.
Yeah,
you're getting the star on the planet. That's a different level. That's, if this is even bigger than if Stone Cold were to cut like a little promo. Like The Rock is in a different level.
You see, that's what I mean, though, right? Like, this is why I'm so pumped by Impact now. I'm so pumped where they are as a company. They're past that point. They're past that rough period where let's just bring people in, because that's not a thing now. To bring people in who add value, and having The Rock come in adds the most value because it makes sense as well because of who it is for. I think this was a great coup. The promo was fantastic. And look, I'm happy for Ken Shamrock, obviously. I think, it's only a matter of time before he gets a WWE nod. But to be fair, this is a bigger thing because he actually had a bigger impact, excuse the pun, on the promotion. Like that's one of the main things that when I was watching Impact Wrestling for the first time was Ken Shamrock was on it, and I was like, oh my god, he disappeared randomly. Now he's back. This is great. So yeah, it was cool, and I think I love the fact that he is like actually wrestling now as like a star.
Gosh, he's ripped,
but he's so good. Like I know people are like, he's old or whatever, but yeah, man,
yeah,
he's
still he has
really
that old
good.
look, but he's not Chris. No offense, he's not Chris Jericho old. Where you're just like, oh, you look really old. Why are you still doing this? Like Ken Shamrock looked like, yeah, you're old, but I'm pretty sure you could still kill me.
See, that's the thing, right? He's 59, right? And Jericho is just turned 50. But Shamrock could kill you. And the stuff he was doing in the match, even his kicks, the high head kicks at his age is unbelievable. And
it's crazy.
It's better stuff than he was doing in WWE as far as like his moveset and stuff. It's just like, oh my god, like he's a believable world champion, and TNA Impact Wrestling aren't even using him as that. They're using him in this great feud with Eddie Edwards.
And speaking of which, huge nod to the baseball bat.
Oh, absolutely. I love that.
Because for people who haven't been paying attention, this has been going on for what, 2 years now, this storyline?
Yeah. 2 years.
Across multiple promotions. This is brilliant.
Yeah.
That they're keeping this going.
And that's what I mean. Impact Wrestling know who they are. They're telling these long form storylines, and everything is informing it. Bringing in Ken Shamrock as well to continue. It's fantastic. Eventually, when this does kind of blow off, it's going to go somewhere. It's going to be a huge payoff for them. But they're taking their time. I thought this was a great 13-minute match. Ken Shamrock has my favorite ankle lock. And
it's the best.
Great. I know Kurt Angle's one, but I never bought Kurt Angle's one. Ken Shamrock's one I do. So fair play. I love this. It was great. And look, if the match had ended there, I'd have no criticism. My criticism comes up next. And
okay.
It's not because of the match, it's because of what happened at the start of that match, where Alexander did a really, really dangerous move on Shelley. And, you know, I love the Guns. The Motor City Machine Guns are one of my favorite tag teams. So I'd be upset anyway. But the fact that it was such a dangerous move and he got injured on it, I kind of dampened. And I said this to Gary. I said, hey, if you guys are sleeping on Bound for Glory, watch it. And he brought it up. So when that happened, I was like, oh my God, you know. So it does put a bit of a
this was a legitimate injury. This wasn't just
it was unsafe, you know. I
did not realize that it was a legitimate injury. I thought it was storyline. He was just taken out before the match.
Yeah, but look, it was what it was. So this is the, you know,
for people who didn't watch, why don't you tell them what the maneuver to quit Vince McMahon was?
Yeah, so it was basically a power bomb. Pile driver. It was a pile driver on stage, and it just was like, oh, this is a bit much, and that's what kind of. It sucks to see it was on Sabin and not Sabin. Sorry, it was on
Shelley.
And like it's a weird thing because usually Alexander is quite safe, but yeah, man, I just wasn't a fan of that to see it. One thing that does kind of, I think he's okay now. I just did a quick Google, but the one thing that I would say is something that I'd like to see less of. They all do pile drivers. Stop doing pile drivers so much, because it's just, you know, stuff happens and it
does.
I don't see the risk in it. You know,
more stuff happens on pile drivers than, you know.
Yeah,
I don't know.
It's just we don't need it, right? It's not something that needs to be done. Like,
it's that kind of. When you're on the indies, you want to make the moves look as devastating as possible so you get noticed. And so I feel like and this could turn into a whole thing, so I'm not going to turn into one, but to be succinct, wrestlers who are in smaller promotions tend to do more dangerous moves in the hopes that it will get them noticed. But what they need to realize is that it might get them noticed by fans, but the talent scouts in the bigger companies don't care about that. They care about your chemistry and the way that you're able to feel the crowd and respond to them in the ring. So the risk is not worth the reward. That's why Will Ospreay doesn't currently have a WWE contract and Ricochet does.
That's a very fair point. Like, I'd say it's just, you know, if this was storyline, which I'm not sure that it was, if it was, fine, it did its job, but still less pile drivers would be great. It's the only thing that put a damper on it, because it's like the way they sold it and the way it was just like, right, there's more going on here. And
I wasn't happy with the winners, actually.
Yeah, well, the North aren't really that great of a team, in my opinion, as far as
why are they making them out like they're some awesome team? They had a fantasy match between them and the Good Brothers a couple weeks ago, and they made it out like, oh, this is a must-watch match.
I'll tell you why. It's because they're building stars. They're building stars, which is what you're supposed to do. I still think
that you should have given it to the Good Brothers just so that they could have had the championships.
No, dude,
companies.
No, they will eventually, but we can't hypocritically give out about WWE not making stars, and then when another company goes and makes the stars, we're like, why are you making stars? Like, you know, fair play for actually, you know, running with these guys. Yeah, but you know, I think the Good Brothers will eventually.
The North reminds me of La Resistance.
They do. That's exactly who I thought they looked like. Yeah, it was just, but that's the gimmick. They're supposed to be kind of geeks, you know.
Yeah.
And they will eventually get beaten by the Good Brothers. But
so is this the new Team Canada? I guess. Will Petey Williams be showing up any day now?
Man, I'd be totally up for Petey Williams doing some Canadian
really,
Destroyers.
Mr. No More Pile Drivers?
The Canadian Destroyer is not a pile driver.
Oh,
okay?
How dare you?
The Canadian Destroyer is not a pile driver.
You can't even say that with a straight face.
No, I can't. And look, I'm allowed to break my own rules, okay? That's fine.
Yeah, I know. No one else gets to make rules on this stupid show.
There's a reason for that, Mr. World War III.
Oh, okay, Mr. Unforgiven 99.
Hey, hold on a second. We'll get to that.
All right. Well, let's talk about Su Yung defeating the lovely Deonna Purrazzo with
Yes.
Kimberly of CZW fame, actually.
So it sounds like you have a lot of your girls on this, so I'm going to let you take lead on this, sir.
Yeah, it was an all right match.
I thought it was a decent match.
I really enjoyed it. This was one of my standout matches from the night. It doesn't stand out in terms of like moves. I don't really remember the actual choreography for the match, but I remember I was captivated for the whole 15 minutes. It felt like a 25-minute match.
That's the thing.
Quite frankly.
Guys, a lot of people say, oh, AEW has a terrible women's division. Yeah, it does. Guess who doesn't? Knockouts. Again, knockouts are bad.
And hey, I appreciate the fact that they still call them knockouts.
Yep.
Even if, they're not. I appreciate it.
I don't know. I liked all the ladies involved in this. Su Yung is a great talent.
Yes.
It just
Who was the one that I fell in love with on this show? Was oh my gosh. There was another girl. There was another girl on here that I can't. Her name's just not popping into my head right now, and I was like, she's awesome.
What I will have to say is though,
what's Emma's name in AEW? I mean,
I can't remember. I just call her Emma because I just see her and I pop.
Kaylee Say?
Kaylee Say. Yeah.
Her. She's my fave.
She's my fave too.
She's my new fave.
She's great. But no, I love Su Young's whole presentation. It's just class. I'm like, you're the best. So I'm like, I was happy to see she won. She kind of has that weird Luna vibe off her. It's weird watching Unforgiven 1999 was like, they're taking a lot from this and it's all the good stuff. So she kind of feels like an Asian Luna. And I'm like, oh, this is cool. She does. That's what I get from her. And yeah, man, I think it was a really good match. A nice 15-minute brawl.
No complaints.
Super cool. Rich Swann and Eric Young.
Oh my goodness. What a match.
They burned the house down. Woo! So it was just like, what a way to cap off a show. Eric Young, obviously he is a TNA original. But this is not the Eric Young that, was in, originally there. This is like a far more mature Eric Young.
I've had multiple shows on multiple channels where I'm the star and I go fishing and hunting, and now I'm completely tatted up and I'm not a Daniel Bryan clone.
No.
And to anybody out there, now mind you, I haven't read the Newswire, if that's even still a thing, but if anybody out there tried to downplay this as Impact copying WWE for Kofi at WrestleMania,
no way. Absolutely no. No, there's no way.
This is completely different stories.
No, look, listen. If that is the take, I'm sorry that you can't see beyond, literal like for like.
I mean, that's literally, you'd only come up with that if you're looking at it by color. That's the only way you come up with that conclusion. And it drives me crazy. Yeah,
and I just don't. I'm not even gonna give that credence because that's just ridiculous. And I agree with you. It's ridiculous. But like what I would say on this is, it's like Rich Swann wouldn't be my choice initially until I saw this match, and then I'm like, oh my gosh, absolutely! Like, there's your guy who can carry your company.
This is what I've been saying. So, I've been trying to instill in people's mind back several years ago when I was watching PWG, when it was Generico and Steen and Rick Swan and Ricochet and what's that little luchador's name? Oh, he's adorable. Hit me with the hot stuff right now. What's his name? He's WWE right now. Kalisto. Oh my gosh. The Willie Mack was and it was just an amazing roster.
But see, Dave, my exposure to Rich Swann wouldn't be in that.
So yours was the Cruiserweight Classic, and then WWE, which I just felt like they toned him down too much.
See, that was it, and that's why when I was watching this match, I was kind of blown away because I'm like, oh, what? Yeah, this is amazing. He just like I actually buy it.
He used to be in a tag team with Ricochet, and when they would come out in PWG, their theme music it's escaping me right now, but their theme music was iconic. It wouldn't be on the DVDs because it was copyright reasons, but the crowd would still be singing it throughout their matches, and Ricochet and Swan would be dancing, and they were all into it, and they were just really, really fun to watch.
Yeah,
and Flip, and just I've been a Rick Swan fan for consistently 5-6 years now, and I'm so glad to see him.
I'm a fan after this match. I was pulling for Eric Young because I have that allegiance to Eric Young, but when I saw it, I was like, well, both these guys are stars.
Dude, this main splash,
dude, that unbelievable! Like, it's so good. That's the thing. It's just like, it's crazy to be so, to be presented with this just pure wrestling at a very high level, and that's just what it is. It wasn't overbooked. It made sense. It had, it was long. It was about 20 minutes, but 20 minutes really well spent. And
it's for the World Championship. It should be a 20-minute match.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like, and as I said, no one was burned out by it. There was only 8 matches on this. 7 you don't include the pre-show. So, look, it was what it was. I'd say everything was timed very, very well. The show made sense. It was consistent, and it was beyond that. The wrestling was phenomenal. Where did they go from this? Obviously, we have a bit of catching up to do, watching the product. But 2020. This is the best pay-per-view of the year, with the exception of WrestleMania for some reason because of what it did. But in my opinion, this was, from a pure technical wrestling standpoint, the pay-per-view of the year. What do you think, Dave? Pure A from me.
I'm the kind of person, and people are gonna maybe hate on me for saying this because obviously I've said nothing but positive things about every match on here, but I want to give them room to grow. I don't want this to be me coming in and saying this is perfect and then be disappointed for the rest of the year. So I'm going to say that this was a B, a high B, and very respectable. And please, people, remember that when I rate pay-per-views, I don't rate them specifically by the company. I just view them by like pay-per-views of all time. So in my mind, I'm thinking, was this pay-per-view good as WrestleMania XYZ? And to my mind, no, so it's a B.
Okay. I would say, as far as a company to grow, this is the one that I'll be watching. This is the one that we're going to watch and focus on a lot more, purely because it's exciting and interesting. It doesn't have all the faults that other places have.
Right. I was in for AEW this time last year. Time last year, I was all in on AEW. Oh, no pun intended. But when Moxley debuted and I thought things were going good, and I don't know, maybe without the shutdowns, things could have gone differently for them. But in my eyes, Impact has surpassed them in terms of watchability. I don't feel the egos. Maybe that's what I'm trying to get. I don't feel the egos when I watch Impact. I just feel the wrestling.
And actually, you know what? You hit the nail on the head. That's what I feel too. It's like, it's just the guys and girls going out and making the best wrestling program they can. And that's all I watch wrestling for. That and stories. And I'm not getting that from AEW, and WB is tragic. So it's like, okay, But fair play to Impact Wrestling. Looking forward to covering more shows with them and for them as we kind of go on. But we're going to take a quick break, kind of reset, and come back and look at WWE from back in the day. Unforgiven 1999. Guys, we'll be back after this short break. Talk to you later.
Thank you for listening to a Nerd to Know Media production.
All right, guys, and we're back on our first ever real break we've ever had.
Yeah.
A real break, not those fake breaks. So now I need to do trailers and stuff like that, so we actually have something to play during the break.
The breaks, yeah.
But yeah, I'll get to that eventually, which is my great failing of doing stuff eventually. So yeah, we are back and we have a lot to get through. Kind of staying for the rest of the hour.
Yes.
So we got
I guess this is the appropriate time to For those of you who are watching on YouTube, and so great to see that our YouTube is growing now. Absolutely. That we've switched channels. Great for all you new fans. Click subscribe, ring the bell, all that fun stuff. This is where we're going to be. Yep. So we'll have our live shows and our backdated shows. We're going to start adding our back shows to it as well. So behind me, for anybody who's familiar with American cinema, is a kind of a poster, a fan poster from Plan 9 from Outer Space, which if you look it up is, and I've watched it myself multiple times, is rated probably one of the worst movies ever made, period. Bela Lugosi, famous monster actor, died during production, so the director's wife's chiropractor would fill in for him with like a hood, like a cape held over his face, pretending to be a vampire. It was a cluster, is what this was.
Pull the string.
Yeah, pull the string. It was, you can literally see strings on saucers.
My question, have you seen the Tim Burton movie Ed Wood?
No, I haven't.
Oh my God.
Is it good though?
It's fantastic.
Okay, so I heard it's boring. But let me, before we divulge,
it's not boring. It's a movie with Ed Wood.
Okay, hold on. Ed Wood, of course, being the one who made this movie. But my point being, for the people who are wondering, okay, so why has that been your background all night? Because the Kennel from Hell, I thought, which is part of Unforgiven 99, was going to be like Plan 9 from Outer Space. It was going to be so bad that I loved it. Is that my reaction? Is that why I put this poster up behind me? Let's start at the top of the card.
I did tell him this, but he didn't listen. He set himself up to fail.
I even texted Dara 2 days ago, and I said, dude, you're downplaying this because you know how excited I'm going to be if I have low expectations.
No, that's why you need to set your expectations to an appropriate level. And he just didn't, so I don't blame you.
I really thought it was going to be amazing.
No, if it was amazing, I would have told you it was amazing. It's not. It's anyway, we'll get to it. But no, seriously, guys, if you haven't seen the Ed Wood movie, do. It's actually fantastic. It's one of Johnny Depp's best movies, and it's so good. I love it.
You've already got me watching Ninth Gate after this stream.
Yeah,
so
actually, this is a Johnny Depp kind of thing as well. Ninth Gate is really good too. Both those movies kick ass. Anyway, okay, so start top of the card, D'Lo Brown. Actually, before we get into it, so some context. This was after SummerSlam, but like literally a couple of days before Rebellion, which we covered a couple of months ago. When I do the playlist, I'll put them on order. So yeah, that's the kind of context for this. So D'Lo Brown versus Mark Henry. If you remember correctly, Mark Henry and D'Lo Brown were having a feud. Basically, D'Lo Brown was attacked by Mark Henry and turned heel at Survivor Series, and this was for the European Championship. And D'Lo Brown obviously won. Defeated Mark Henry and is your European champion. Now, I love this. This was great. SmackDown had just been introduced, so D'Lo Brown would come out as being billed from different areas in Europe, and then Al Snow would eventually pick it up, and he would dress as different people from different areas in Europe. It was a fun time. It was a fun gimmick. I missed the European title. Impact Wrestling, European title, please. The next match is Jeff Jarrett with Miss Kitty defeated China for the IC belt. Remember, this was before the Good Housekeeping match, which we talked about last week.
Yeah, that's why this was interesting for me, because watching it in reverse order kind of messed with my mind a bit.
Yeah. So this is why, because there was some shenanigans during this match and they had to have the blow off. But those first two matches, what did you think of them, Dave? Did they do anything for you, or were you just kind of like, these are filler before we get to the blow offs?
Yeah, I was there's something about Val Venus that I just really like. I don't know why. The more I watch the 90s, the more I like him.
Right.
I'm starting to understand why he was a big star, but I can't put my finger on it yet.
Well, look, Val Venus and Steve Blackman, it wasn't that's how the night started. It wasn't the best match in the world, but I like Steve Blackman. I always did like Val Venus, less so as we went on, and obviously really he's been a bit of a piece of you know what. Yeah. But obviously we shouldn't be shocked by that because it's Val Venus. That was his gimmick. But still.
D'Lo Brown, I was fine. Nice to see him win championships. I always forget that he actually had championships, and this was the first match.
Really? See, D'Lo Brown for me has always been, again, because I watched him as a kid.
European champion.
Yeah, he's always been the European champion like that, or the double champion, and that's how I always kind of see him. So I'm like, and also he was like the first person who I would always associate with the Frog Splash.
Yes, it caught me off guard. I didn't know that was his move. So
yeah, the lowdown.
I will say that this was the match where I started to notice the scab referee storyline.
Oh yeah, of course. So
which to me is fascinating because only Vince McMahon would do a storyline about unions in a company where he forbids unions.
Yeah. So that's for anyone who needs some context, it's weird. I think this is the most historical context pay-per-view we've ever had to do because there is so much going on with it.
There's a lot going on.
So the referees all walked out because they were afraid of they were tired of being beaten up by WWE talent. So they had scab referees. Some referees were across the picket line and they get attacked out. Remember that comes back later. And throughout the whole night, they had different officials as scab referees. So Steve Lombardi, Tom Pritchard, Harvey Whippleman, they would make up the guts of the scab referees throughout the night. So yeah, again, it was a weird storyline when I was 9. It's still a weird storyline when I'm 32. So yeah. It's still a weird storyline all these years down the line.
I enjoyed it more when they did it in 2013 when they had the talent all walk out and the whole show was like Triple H, CM Punk, and like 5 other guys. That was interesting.
I like that. That was good. I don't even know why they did it initially. I think it was just Vince Russo had pretty much, this was his final show. I think they were going somewhere with it and it just didn't. It just went nowhere. Things went back to normal pretty much the night after this. And obviously by No Mercy, they're back to normal. So, it was what it was. So my question on this, Dave, compared to some of the shows which you've seen, which have been very active and very, bombastic starting off, these are very like slow matches. These 3 matches are very kind of like by the books, normal matches. Progressing storylines are just to have them. Some of them just kind of came out of nowhere, like the Val Venus Steve Blackman match was kind of out of nowhere. Even still, just watching it, and then there'd be some other matches where they're like, "Hey, we announced this on Heat." Did this kind of go against you, or did you enjoy them?
It didn't bother me.
Right.
It didn't bother me, but it wasn't that special at the same time.
That was my take on it too. Watching this again, it was like it didn't really start picking up until later on.
I don't like the Dudleys when they're doing their whole stuttering gimmick.
Now, so let's talk about that. The 4th match of the night was the Acolytes versus the Dudley Boys. The Dudley Boys had literally just come into WWE. This is their first tag team match, their first WWE match on pay-per-view, and they were still doing their ECW gimmick. So this was their ECW gimmick, and I agree. I remember watching it as a kid going, I don't like this. But I knew the Dudleys, and like, I don't like this. And I still don't. I think as they would move on, and then by the end of 1999 and 2000, that's when you got the Dudleys as the Dudleys rather than this weird ECW thing. I did like the match though. The match was hilarious, where the Acolytes are just going ECW this and just beating the hell out of them. I was like, this is actually quite a good match. This is like, we've seen this before with Public Enemy, where the Acolytes would do the exact same thing. The difference was Public Enemy aren't the Dudleys are the Dudleys, and they were both going hell for leather. So this was a really fun match. Very physical, really physical match. Stupid ending with Steve Richards coming out. I did enjoy him having the UPN logo on his chest because SmackDown was on the UPN at the time.
Right. Yeah, I caught that.
Yeah,
I was a fan of that.
And I was like, oh, that's pretty funny because Stevie Richards would do this. He'd show up as different people, and it didn't go anywhere. It went nowhere. But this is like
somebody else did that in like the mid 2000s. I can't remember who it was, but they would just be like
the Big Show did it. The Big Show did it as well for a while in 2000.
Okay,
he showed up as Hulk Hogan and stuff like that. It was really stupid, but
he would show up as different people. No, but who was it? Even after him, was it? Wasn't Fandango? Maybe it was
Alex Riley. It was Alex Riley, wasn't it?
Alex Riley, that's who it was. He would show up as different superstars each week, and it was like, what are you doing? Just trying to keep a paycheck coming, really?
Yeah, this just kind of happens, and this is weird about WWE. Like, the storylines start to get recycling, and you kind of see them. And Stevie Richards was doing it because Stevie didn't really do anything in WWE until, like, ever. It wasn't until he went to TNA, when it was TNA, that he actually started doing stuff. So,
oh my gosh.
Yeah.
You just mentioned something that I totally forgot to mention during the TNA stuff.
What?
And so I'm just, if you listen to the first half of the show, obviously, shout out to Josh Matthews for the Lion's Den references during the Ken Shamrock match. I really appreciated that.
See, that was great, man. I have to say,
I wouldn't have gotten that if we weren't doing this show. It would have meant nothing to me.
Well, I'm happy to oblige, and hopefully more people will check out our past shows because we're trying to provide the context. That's the goal of this whole show, is to provide context for old wrestling that people don't know anymore.
Yeah, and we both happen to have degrees in history, so we might as well make use of
absolutely, because you don't get paid for that. You just don't.
That's not our careers.
No, that's not. Well, no. Not anymore. No, nobody is going to get a career in that. But anyway, not bitter. Hashtag not bitter.
Hashtag not bitter. Hashtag did you turn it off and turn it on first?
Exactly.
So anyway.
Okay. So the next match was the second ever hardcore women's title match. Again, as a kid watching this, I was like, I've never seen this before. This was weird. And it still kind of is, but I liked it. I thought if anyone was going to, I did like, when we go back more, you'll see more of Luna. Luna was just kind of crazy. And,
clearly.
Yeah, she was. But like, she'd have like some weird evening gown matches that would just descend into like hardcore matches and stuff like this. So I always found like they were kind of angling her back towards this angle. And I thought this was cool. They would kind of drop the women's title for a bit as well, or be kind of lost. We'll see as we kind of progress through the pay-per-views. But this was
I'm a big fan of Ivory.
Me too. Ivory's great. I thought this was probably one of the strongest women's performance before it would kind of really get strong and then peter off again into the mid 2000s, late 2000s when it pick up again. But Ivory is one of the best, and to be fair, if anyone kind of wants to see like proto women's division that we'd have now, Ivory and Luna were kind of doing it. Ivory and Luna were doing it in 1999.
Ivory had it all. She was like the Trish Stratus. She not only had the look, she had the in-ring skills, she had the personality. I mean, she was it.
She was.
She was the cover of your magazines in the late 90s. She was it.
And it wasn't the longest match in the world. There was a lot of thing with Fabulous Moolah and Mae Young. Jerry Lawler had a field day.
Oh my goodness, Jerry Lawler would not give them a break.
No, he wouldn't. And I don't know. It's just he just constantly went for it. I did like the fact that JR was like, so if they were in your, because remember Jerry was still running for
right,
mayor. And he's like, so if they were living in Tennessee, what would you say? And he goes, well, look, if they were living in Tennessee, of course. And it's just, I just love the fact that JR would always be on the king at certain points in time. It was brilliant. Next
because there was an animosity there, but like it wasn't felt like a friend. It was a true frenemy situation.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like, we don't get that nowadays.
No, it's also actually in Impact kind of.
Well, okay, Don Callis. Yep. I'm talking WWE though. Like we don't really get that kind of.
It's so sanitized. It's so safe. It's
now. Can you tell? Because I can tell when Jerry Lawler shouts things out that are clearly Vince McMahon talking.
Yes. There's a point in it when in the 6-pack challenge after they come back and they're talking about Fear Factory and System of a Down, and obviously that's a line that's been fed. Mm-hmm. But there's also that's the most obvious I've ever heard it. But throughout the match as well, you can kind of hear it when like they're pushing something specific. But I think this whole commentary team was given a lot more leeway in the 90s. They must have been because it's a lot more kind of natural, a lot more everything they say is like more kind of like towards a true observation rather than just lines or something. It's really hard not to swear. That's why I'm kind of following my words.
Yeah, no, it's cool. It's like not every other line coming out of your mouth isn't. It's 99. It's $9.99. Buy the network.
Exactly. It's not pure garbage. It's not a hard sell. It's more just kind of like, here's the match. Here's what's going on. And I think that was an advertisement. No, and it's also not some insidious grab or some just junk. Everything that's said, they're telling the storylines, they're having a bit of fun and calling the match, and that's what you kind of want. Also, King says nothing reprehensible on the show either, which is nice. And to my knowledge,
I mean, he gets a bit excited by Miss Kitty earlier in the night.
Yeah, of course he does. Yeah, but
well,
he was married to her at that point, I think. So that's what it is.
Fair enough.
The next match I enjoyed a lot. It was the New Age Outlaws, which, to be fair, this would be one of the last times that we'd see them on pay-per-view and probably on the show. And
oh my gosh, these reactions were huge. Out of this world.
And they had just reformed as well, so that was great. And then,
like, how can you have? I hate that modern WWE makes it out like Triple H and Shawn Michaels were DX.
Yeah,
because everything I go back and watch in time, like, there were times where they were in those angles, and maybe those are some of the most famous angles. I get it, but week in, week out, Billy Gunn and Road Dogg were DX,
and X-Pac.
New Age Outlaws were DX, and X-Pac, of course.
See, that's what always bugged me. And I actually, believe it or not, I actually plugged this show to someone who was posting about DX. But they were posting about 2006 DX, and that blew my mind. I'm like, are you for real? You like that?
Wow.
And I'm like, you do know this was...
That was a Spirit Squad version, right?
Yeah, and I was like, so I think WWE's recast... there is two things at play. One, this was 20 years ago, right? We're old, man. We're old. So there's people who would be maybe 10 years younger than us, who only remember DX 2006. That's their DX, right? But then there's also WWE recasting history, because before X-Pac and Billy Gunn and that came back to WWE and kind of saved their relationship, they were heavily editing out, because remember in TNA they were VKM.
Yeah, VKM for
so they were railing WWE.
Oh my gosh, I love when they would show up at the Alamo and they'd be like, "Come on, Triple H," or they'd be like, "Come on, Paul," and what's Sean's real name?
Michael Hickenbottom. Like,
come on, come to the Alamo. We'll be waiting for you here.
Yeah. So this is
wait for them.
They did wait for them there. Yeah. So this is probably why. So a lot of this whole period has been recast as it was just, and also China, right? China's also been removed.
China's a huge part, and
from the history. And it sucks because DX for me it's not even Shawn Michaels. To be fair, because Shawn Michaels kind of was there, but for me, when DX really started kind of being DX, it was the New Age Outlaws, X-Pac, Triple H, and China.
Right.
Shawn Michaels isn't even there.
No, he just came in once other people got injured, essentially.
Yeah, he's not even there. But and I think everyone has that same relationship. Because let us know in the comments below what you think. Who's your DX? Do you think?
Yeah,
are we wrong? Because I think that's kind of an important thing now, that we are 20 years removed, and it is 20 years, and that's a long time. But it's sad that DX gets overlooks the New Age Outlaws. I would argue if the New Age Outlaws...
We've had 4 presidents since the New Age Outlaws were the DX.
Yeah, right. But I would say if it wasn't for New Age Outlaws... Oh my
gosh, 5.
Well... We'll see. We'll see. The New Age Outlaws. the New Age Outlaws. Look, we're not getting into that. It's way too. We have a conspiracy show, which we might do eventually on that. But we're just here to talk about old wrestling. That's it. Don't bring that crap in here, please.
I wasn't bringing it in here. I'm just really excited to talk about this next match.
Right.
Let's just get to it.
I just don't want to talk. I don't want to think about it.
Let's just get to it. Let's get to the best thing that happened to me this week.
Okay,
I was watching the camera.
For any listen, not a Trump fan, obviously, not that kind of stuff, but just that election thing is just a nightmare. I just don't want to think about it.
You don't even live here.
Yeah, I don't even live here. But no, hold on. You forget Ireland is the 51st state. So all you hear about is
who wasn't getting into this. I wasn't getting into this.
I'm just saying. I'm sick of it.
Stop it.
I'm sick of it. I just don't want to listen anymore.
Keep talking about it.
It's driving me mad. Okay. Anyway,
it's driving me mad too.
Anyway. Okay. Right.
Anyway.
Reset. Okay.
Reset. Okay. So Al Snow, the current hardcore champion, would take on Big Boss Man in what will go down as one of the greatest matches in wrestling history. You thought Impact Bound for Glory 2020 was good? Well, you haven't seen the Kennel from Hell match. Let me tell you more things Dara told me that were pure lies and fantasies.
I never said any of these things.
All of these things.
No,
he told me it was amazing. He told me there was fraud. He told me there was vote tampering. He told me all these. Am I mixing up subjects? He told me there are all these things.
Oh my God, Dave. Killing me, Dave. Anyway. Oh, wow. Okay. No, what I did say was that this is a terrible match. You're going to be disappointed, and there's a reason why nobody talks about it. But before we get into
everybody talks about it. That's why I had to watch it.
Okay, I want to give some context first. So, when I was watching the show, something occurred to me. This is Big Boss Man's second Hell in a Cell match in 1999. He was in 2. His first one was against The Undertaker at WrestleMania, a match which nobody talks about because he got hung at the end of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so nobody talks about it, and that was in your hometown.
I remember that WrestleMania.
That was in.
I taped it, and my parents were like, "Yeah, you're not watching the end of this." And I was like, "Why?"
Yeah, I totally don't blame them. So, Big Boss Man, who is one of my favorite wrestlers of all time, has a bad run with Hell in a Cell matches, so I don't blame him, right? And this match, okay, so the gimmick was they were supposed to have like rabid dogs, right? But they couldn't get rabid dogs, so that's why it failed, because they got like basically like, you know, house
schnauzers.
Dogs. Yeah, a little.
They get Dobermans, maybe.
They were Rottweilers, but they were like house dogs. So it's like
they didn't get vicious.
They didn't get vicious or police dogs. It's like they got like
police dogs would have been the good move. See, that's what I was expecting. I was expecting German Shepherds, and that
they were all expecting that.
Right, and that Al Snow and Boss Man would be wearing like padded up things on their arms. So if they went out of the rings, the dog would bite on and latch out like you see in those police training videos, and then the trainers would pull them back off of it. No harm, no foul. The match could continue. That's what I expected.
That's what everyone expected.
Were puppies barking at each other
and peeing everywhere.
What on earth happened?
Well, that's what happened.
I know that's what happened, but what happened?
Well, the dogs that they got, they were sort of expecting them to be, you know, obviously that, and they weren't. So the match itself, from a match standpoint, they really crippled themselves, because a Hell in a Cell is a bad concept anyway if you can't escape it and use it. Like, in my opinion, I hate Hell in a Cell matches because they're very rarely Hell in a Cell matches. They're a match in a cage, right?
Right.
At the best of times.
Match in a cell, sure.
And that's what's kind of happened here, but it was match in a cell with another cell where they can't use the cell. So there was very little actually of a match in this. And then when they did try to use the gimmick, the dogs were just like, I'm going to pee here. And I'm going to
the dogs wouldn't chase after them. I'm
very confused. They're just going to be dogs. Like, and it's like, what were you expecting? They're dogs. You know, they just they're scared of everything that's going on here, you know? And it was kind of a bit of animal cruelty as well to like expect dogs to do that.
But that's what I don't understand. I mean, this is WWF. They could hire legitimate dogs from Hollywood. Like, what happened?
I don't know. I apparently from the lore is there was a mistake and they couldn't get the dogs they wanted, so they ended up getting these, and that was it. And it's just like what I would have done if I was booking this show, and I obviously wasn't. This is Vince Russo's last pay-per-view. I would have rebooked the show. I would have rebooked the entire show, but I would have actually fixed this match specifically. Instead of having the Kenneth from Hell, you could have just put it in the Lions Den match and just call it Kenneth from Hell, but like had the whole ring surrounded by like chains or whatever, and then just do it that way. Be symbolic rather than actually having dogs there. So that's what I would have done. But you know,
you see, but here's what gets me is like, okay, so people always talk about the dog aspect of it, but I was like, okay, I know the dogs don't, I know, you know, that doesn't live up to the hype, but I'm sure the match itself is interesting.
Yeah.
And it's not. It's just some wire cutters, and then, you know, it's wire cutters, and Boss Man gets on top of the cage to exit, and Al Snow walks out the door.
So let's talk about that, right? What? So the match itself, because of the limit, this is the problem, right?
But explain this to me, because I know you're going to diatribe, but didn't Boss Man technically escape the cell by being on top of it?
No. How
was he not? How did he not win the match?
The rules state that your 2 feet must hit the floor outside the cell.
Did they?
No, it was on top.
No, I'm saying, did they state those rules?
Yeah.
When?
At the beginning.
You're just saying that because you know I'm not going to go back and check it.
No, I'm not. Go back and check.
I'm not. You know I'm not going to go back and check. So touche.
I'll tell you what, guys, if I'm wrong, comments below. Or actually, for anyone listening on True Penny Channel, at Dave, at D Dave Stevens, tell Dave he's wrong on Twitter.
Yes, hashtag save Dave.
Save Dave.
500 followers.
Save Dave. So look, what I'm saying is, look, and that's the thing. They did actually state it, but badly. I will concede that. They did state it badly, and the rules make no sense. And they handicapped themselves purely by, this Hell in a Cell matches don't work unless there's a reason for it. Cage matches barely work, but they did both of these at the same time while having dogs that weren't doing anything. So they must have planned out a match based on the dogs. And I actually counted, there were only like 6 moves in this match.
It was pitiful.
There were 6 moves. There was one big spot, and even JR was like, "Oh, look at this big spot! What a spot!" And then that was it. The wire cutters were silly. They were both bleeding for some reason. It was a bad match. Probably one of the worst matches of all time, and not because of the dogs, just because as a match it failed. And we've seen this match many times in the WWE, usually featuring Sheamus and Randy Orton in Hell in a Cell. They've done it loads of times, and this is the exact same kind of match. Match in the cell doesn't work.
When the build up to the match is that your Chihuahua is taken and like its fur is burned off and it's filleted and grilled, and your opponent eats it. I want to see some more viciousness out of you. I want to see something, not just regular trading jabs, right?
As I said, this did bring Head back, so that was the big payoff. But what they
just because we got Head doesn't mean it's a good night.
No, I didn't say it was. What I would have done, honestly, if I was booking the show, I would have just thrown out the actual physical dogs, paired this back, or even had a match in an actual dog pen. You know what I mean? Like, not in the Hell in a Cell function. I think they had a good idea. It just didn't pan out. When the original dogs weren't able to go, they should have went, right, what's in the locality? Where was this? Was this in Philadelphia? I'm double checking now. No, it was in North Carolina. They could have just
why did you even need the first cage? It's not like dogs can jump up into the ring.
Yeah, they didn't need it. What they should
Because
have done,
then it's kind of like a lumberjack match. But then you have PETA being like, "Oh no, you might injure the animal." It's
absolutely. See, what would have made more sense? They should have went full tilt, went to a police facility, said, "Right, can we wrestle in your dog pen?" Obviously without the dogs, but just have the match there, and that would have been at least something, because then he could have had a vicious match in that enclosed environment.
See, that's you thinking of the cinematic universe we currently live in.
Well, no, because they've done this. They've went to places. We watched some of the matches, whether they were in a pub or they were in the river. I just think they didn't go far enough. They played it way too safe, and by playing it too safe, it came off as lame, and the big thing they were relying on just failed. And it's sad that this great angle, and but here's the thing.
More thought was put into the gimmick than was put into the actual booking
match.
Of the match. Yeah.
And I'd say is you're about to see something that's going to blow your world in Survivor Series 1999.
Oh, I totally trust you.
No, wait. I'm not saying it's good, but the last 2 pay-per-views in 1999 in WWE are something to behold. So
I'm sad the Vince Russo era is over, man. I don't know. It might be hard to watch.
It's over, but those 2 pay-per-views have the most Vince Russo thing, most Vince Russo
esque
things ever. Yeah, esque things ever. And it's worse than anything he did in WCW. So just wait. We're gonna get there. Guys. So after that, I needed a palate cleanser, and my match of the night was up next: X-Pac and Chris Jericho. Here's the thing. 2 things on this run, right? One, it was 13 minutes, which is
it's longer than Kennel from Hell.
Yeah, it was longer than Kennel Hell, second longest match of the whole thing. 2, it was announced on Heat, right? As we said, you didn't watch Heat, you missed out on something. WWE need to bring that back, because it actually filled out this whole show, and this match was really good. Jericho, he'd actually injured Ken Shamrock, so that's why Ken Shamrock wasn't on this. Ken Shamrock is done in WWE now at this point, and it's because of Chris Jericho, and I believe he was supposed to be on this pay-per-view, but wasn't, obviously. So yeah, this was great. didn't really tell that much of a story. Curtis Hughes, where did he go? Never saw him again after this.
I don't even know who he is. He confused me. He was there. He was gone.
He was Jericho's floozy for a little while. I do remember that, but he showed up.
Floozy. That's a word that needs to come back.
It's a good word. But he showed up very, very briefly. And he's not dead, but he did retire in 2012.
Well, thanks for clarifying.
Yeah, so his WWE career, he was in WWE for like a match against The Undertaker, Mr. Perfect. No, he stole Undertaker's urn, then had a match between them a bunch of times, relinquished the urn, lost to Mr. Perfect, and then disappeared for a while, went to ECW, returned in 1997 as Triple H's floozy, and then in 1993 returned as a masked opponent for Jericho called Gotcha Grace, and then revealed it was a setup to attack Ken Shamrock, and Gracie revealed himself as Jericho's new bodyguard. Hughes was, that's it. So that was it. That's his whole thing. That's his whole gimmick and his whole career, basically. He was also in he was in WWA. We might need to talk about that. Okay, so sorry, I got really distracted there by...
I have no idea what you're talking about. Let's talk about the six-pack challenge.
Okay. Well, okay. I just say really good match. Match night for me was
Loved
Jericho X-Pac. It was really good.
I miss this hairstyle from Jericho. It's so flamboyant in your face. You have to hate me.
Oh, it's great. It's great.
Little ponytail out. I just love it.
Did you notice that everybody was just like giving them the finger and stuff? And I'm like,
yeah.
They really hate him for not. It was great. Jericho's the best, man.
Great.
Okay. Six-pack challenge. First thing. I hate what the network have done to that video package. Oh my God, it drives me so mad. That video package is seared into my brain as it was initially because it's Fear Factory and System of a Down, my first exposure to both. Okay. Probably why I'm a metalhead. I'll send you the original and you can watch it with its music. It's absolutely fantastic. And yeah, the music that they put on it is just terrible. But I love the storyline to it where obviously this is after Fully Loaded where Vince McMahon is gone. Remember that he was retired after Austin? That's what it's
he had to leave. That's right.
He had to leave, exactly. This was his pick. That's why he's not there. Triple H is obviously being the best heel of all time. Wins the belt off Mankind. And then eventually have you ever seen that match with Vince McMahon and Triple H on SmackDown? Title match?
Where Vince wins and then he relinquishes?
It's so bloody. Okay, we're going to cover that next week.
Of course we are.
We're going to cover next week. It's one of the most bloody matches you'll ever see.
Really?
It's so violent.
Vince just goes crazy?
No, Vince gets the hell beat out of him by Triple H.
That's what I'm saying. Like, Vince goes crazy and just blades the hell.
Yeah. There's so much blood. And then Austin comes out and he wins the belt and relinquishes it. It's actually a pretty good storyline, I will say. I'll find it. We'll watch it. We'll cover it next week. But yeah, and then obviously it goes into the whole thing where Austin is the only one who can reinstate Vince because of the contract that they signed, the Fully Loaded. You see this? This is like what?
They've done that multiple times. They didn't do that with like Cena or somebody, where Cena was the only person that could reinstate Vince at one point.
Yeah, but again, it's nice to see that at this point they were telling these big overarching storylines that went on for years. And then obviously Austin was brought in to be the special guest referee here because the six-pack challenge. Yeah, the six-pack challenge, right? So Triple H, Big Show, Bulldog, Kane, Mankind, and The Rock. These were all
Bulldog in his real gear. Love it.
The first time he wore his real gear in a while, because usually he just wrestled in the jeans and t-shirt.
Looks much better than he will in 2 months last week.
Yeah.
That sentence makes sense if you watch our podcast.
It does, yes, exactly. But there was a thing with Triple H and the Bulldog, which would eventually pay off in the next pay-per-view, Rebellion, which we've also covered. And that would be a whole thing with them.
That's right.
But I loved Kane's gear in this. His black on red looks so good. That's the best Kane look, in my opinion. Looks badass. Mankind looks like he's discount Mankind because he's not wearing his right gear, and it threw me. It's like, why are you not wearing the right gear? But okay. And look, the match itself was okay. The video package is on Daily Motion. I will actually link to it underneath this because it's so good. Everyone needs to see it. It's the best part. The match itself is okay. It's about 20 minutes. It's very long. Has some good moments in it. Triple H eventually wins because the British Bulldog hits Sorry about that. We just had we just completely lost connection there for a moment for some reason. Guys, thanks so much for sticking with us.
We literally weren't lying when we said that we've been having technical issues for some reason at this time of the night. So thank you for sticking with us.
I don't know. Thanks for sticking with us. I don't know where we dropped out, but
I was just covering when all of the referees were OGs tried to come back into the ring, and Austin decided to go beat them up and count the final pin.
Yeah. So look, it was a good match. They could have done more. They could have done a heck of a lot more. But look, it was what it was. It was Ruserific. So that's kind of it. But Dave, is there anything what would you give this pay-per-view out of 10, like, or a letter grade? I'd give it a C. Yeah, it's a C. It's not the best one that we've talked about. Again, that video package is the best thing about the show.
I don't know.
I'm not there anymore. X-Pac and Jericho, really good too.
Jarrett versus China was good too.
That was good as well. Now I think that was kind of the filler. I'm sorry, New Age Outlaws.
D'Lo Henry was more of a filler, I think.
Yeah, and New Age Outlaws and Edge and Christian was really good too. With the Brood, it was set up next month.
See, that's what it's cool. It's cool to see the growth of these teams before they were who we think of them today.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I remember watching again like this. Rebellion is a better show than this one, and we got that. And I'd say if
I would agree. I would agree.
Yeah, if it's tossed up between two, watch Rebellion because it kind of recaps this entire show in its little video package.
Yes.
But it is important to kind of get some context in this as well. They've got the Ken Elf from Hell Elvis system.
I got it out of my system. Now, the one thing that I'll never get out of my system, and I hope that one day they bring back, is in-ring pyro to start the show.
Yes,
I love those little sets of pyro that goes off in the ring.
It's cool.
Or that like DX will use for their shots, like
or Kane or whatever. Yeah, it was cool.
Well, Kane does it on the outside of the ring, but I like the inside of the ring. And slight tangent to end the show here. One of my favorite moments, since we were talking about who's your DX, I think this was during the 2006 iteration of DX. Shawn Michaels came out one night and Triple H wasn't there. I'm not sure if he was on a different show or he wasn't available or whatever the situation was. And Shawn Michaels did his pose in the middle of the ring, and then he went to do the shots and no pyro went off for him. And he, on the mic, to the live crowd, he made a comment along the lines of, "What, it's just me, so I don't get the pyro tonight? What's going on?" And that really made me laugh.
Pretty good. I like that. So look, the show itself, it's one that I would honestly skip if you've not seen it. Watch Rebellion.
I think we covered it for you guys.
Yeah, watch Rebellion.
Bound for Glory, quite frankly.
And look, Bound for Glory is obviously probably the best thing you'll see all year of wrestling so far. So, guys, thank you so much for joining us. Sorry for some technical issues nearly at the end as we're crossing the finish line, because of course. And Dave, so what would you like to plug, sir? Hashtag Save Dave.
Hashtag Save Dave. Follow me on Twitter at the Dave Stevens. Also follow my Instagram at the Dave Stevens. Exciting announcements to come very shortly. So follow me.
Ooh, yeah, exciting.
Very exciting.
Yeah. Guys, do go over and check out nerdtoknowmedia.com. Current redesign coming. Design the website.
And hey, maybe the redesign won't be muted like Dara's mic just was.
Is my mic? You didn't know, is it?
It is now. You said redesign and then you muted out.
Oh wow, okay.
I'm trying to not cheat you out of your plug. I feel I'm being a nice person.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
As I said, you know what? So yeah, nerdtoknowmedia.com is where you can check out all the shows that
we edit our shows in case nobody's noticed.
You can check out all the shows. We have a show pretty much every day of the week. Of course, you can check it out, Nerd to Know Media, on YouTube. If you're listening to us on the Wrestling Rewind channel, subscribe there, please. A lot more content coming there as well. The True Penny channel, if you're not following that, do. Thank you to James True Penny and Nerd to Know Media. Exactly, yeah, the best people. And also Phoenix 92.5 FM there as well every Tuesday. So you can reach us every single place you can possibly imagine, and we're live every single week. Friday works for us, so it's probably going to be 11:30 or 6:30 on Eastern time. So yeah, we'll be back next week to cover more wrestling from the past. So guys, we'll talk to you next week. Bye.
Thank you for listening to a Nerd to Know Media production.